Whoa, and there you are. I'm tiny on here. How did I get tiny? All right, there you go. And there you are. Good to see you guys. And welcome to Post Disclosure with PJ Thomas. We're gonna be looking at our friend Ross Coulthart's chit chat about underwater alien bases and underwater in general activities of supposedly non-human intelligence. So I don't know. This topic has been. It feels like this topic is brewing. It feels like this topic is on the up and up. And let me just say hi to some of the people in here. And Maria's in here. Hello, Maria. Brother Lee. Brother Lee's around. Thank you, Brother Lee, for popping in. Johnny the Beagle Dad. Good to see you, my friend. And our friends over there, PJ Thomas and Sci-Fi Mombi. Good to see you, Sci-Fi Mombi. So let's take a look at what's up here. So the give me one sec. Let me share page. What? One second. Now the topic here. I never do this. I never ever do this. I try not to. Maybe once or twice I have, but in general, I try not to do it because the AI was helping me, right? With the AI was helping me with creating this thumbnail, and it came up with this. And usually I do more than one run, but I did it on the first run, and I got to say, it's a little clickbaity. Alien cities found. Now, it's a little clickbaity, if that's even a phrase, but it's also, in a certain way, it's also very accurate because um, the fact that we're detecting any kind of trace of civilization underwater is interesting. Is interesting. So let's start. We're going to take a look at one of at Reality Check, and we're gonna. I have there's a lot I can say about Reality Check because we kind of we don't know Ross personally, but we kind of know where I don't know why this keeps dropping. We kind of know where we kind of know Ross a little bit through other people. So let's take a look at we're gonna do a two part taking a look at this special underwater UFOs segment for News Nation that Ross did. I think he's very interesting. I think Ross Coulthart is a very interesting person. I think he's a very honest journalist. I think he is positioned himself well to tackle some of these new topics. And please don't mention Atlantis. Stick. You were trying to keep it low profile. Okay. All right. That's right. Thank you, Laurel. So we're gonna take a look at here at and we're gonna comment. Please share comments in the chat if you guys want to.
In this special edition of Reality Check with Ross Coulthart, underwater UFOs.
Now, I have talked about Ross in the past on a few things. We've had a guest on several times that's friends with Ross, and we'll talk more in depth at a future date about some of that stuff. I think he's doing fantastic work. I think News Nation is not one of the big it's not one of the big media companies. It's kind of alternative regular media, and I think they're doing a good job to try to be objective with stuff, and they're not leaning either one way or the other. In general, I mean News Nation in general, and Ross has been as objective as he could possibly be doing this, I think.
G'day and welcome to a special edition of Reality Check on News Nation. I'm your host, Ross Coulthart, reporting to you from Australia. In fact, near one of my favourite Sydney beaches, Coogee. Los Angeles is 7,500 miles in that direction. I've reported extensively for News Nation on unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAPs, that great existential question, are we alone? In this special hour, we're turning our focus from the skies to the depths of the ocean across this planet, to another great mystery, unidentified submerged objects. We're taking you underwater.
Now, let me just say that this is most of the Earth is covered in water. We don't realize this, but I think it was 70% of the Earth is covered in water. Most of the Earth is covered in water, and the volume of the water is I don't have the specs in front of me, but the water is the volume is is profound. Profound. There is so much that can be going on, and we've all seen that movie The Abyss, right? There's a lot of sci-fi fans in here. We've all seen that movie The Abyss, and the alternate ending with the underwater city and stuff. And I think that there is so much, and not to mention Star Trek 4, right? Star Trek 4, they send the alien probe to talk to the oceans, right? Not to man. So there is so much going on. Probably there could be so much going on that we don't know about, and not to mention because when we live on this. Where's a piece of paper? I need a piece of paper. All right. We live on, before I continue, real quick. We live, guys, on this infinitely thin layer of the Earth and the atmosphere, right? And there's so much above us and so much below us that it's astounding what could be really going on. So let's continue. No, not Australia. There's no good underwater cities over there. Come on, Greece, you'll find plenty. That's true. They'll find plenty in Greece. I love The Abyss. There's an Easter egg in the new Avatar movie about. Oh, is there? That's interesting. Thank you, Mombi. All right, Peach. Stay on target there. Stay on target, Peach. I haven't allowed ARG to come onto this channel to tell me to stay on target, so I got to tell myself. All right.
Reports for you from an explorer in the Baltic Sea, showcasing footage never before seen on television. Plus, a correspondent in Southern California taking us on camera into depths like never before, with a UFO witness sharing mysterious video and never before heard stories about what's happening off the coast of the United States.
So just to be clear, this is a special. This is not his usual reality check show on News Nation. It's a special on location on several locations. So hats off to Ross and News Nation.
A bombshell new report and videos from a prominent UFO reporting app. And we hear from a retired Navy Rear Admiral and a congressman who believes there is so much more to this planet than we understand. We start by turning to Dennis Asberg, a Swedish deep dive explorer and co-founder of the Ocean X team, renowned for discovering the mysterious Baltic Sea anomaly.
Now, let me just say that the Swedes and the Norwegians have a lot of they have a good reputation for deep sea stuff, for deep sea diving and deep sea research. You guys are I'm sure you guys are aware of that.
11. This strange, massive underwater formation is perhaps the biggest underwater UFO mystery to date. Approximately 200 feet wide and...
Now, you guys have all seen, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this, and of course, being on this channel, a lot of sci-fi community on this channel, yeah, this is the famous Millennium Falcon underwater object.
On the ocean floor. Debunkers say it must be a natural rock formation. But Dennis Asberg and his team say what they felt in the area is truly anomalous. That's why they're still out there in the water, hunting now in the Baltic Sea near Russia and Finland for underwater UFOs. On his recent expedition, diving into the depths, finding underwater submarines, shipwrecks,
don't even know what it is,
and seeing strange things in the sky.
Okay, drop out.
In 2011, Asberg and his Ocean X team discovered something mysterious on the ocean floor, a possible non-human structure.
I mean, the first time we saw it, that was the experience, because we have never seen anything like that before.
The object's now known as the Baltic Sea anomaly. In the decade since making the discovery, only more questions have been brought than answers. What is it? How old is it? How did it get stranded at the bottom of the ocean? But the hardest question of all to answer, where did it come from? And are there others in our oceans?
When we got
now, this is really, I mean, you know, how did it get there? Is it a structure that was there and then got covered by water? Is it something that's that wasn't there before, you know, that went down there and got covered? It looks on the surface. I was going to say the surface. I mean, right off the bat, it does look like something that could be, you know, like a structure that was covered at some time by water. You know, an archaeological structure of a long time ago.
The area, suddenly we had several ships on the radar, or it looked like several ships on the radar, but there were no ships there.
The strange thing was, before we started filming, they were there all the time. They did not get away or disappear or anything.
Asberg and his team have been documenting the strange occurrences and phenomena he and his team encounter when they approach the site of the anomaly. I recently talked to Dennis Asberg about the Baltic Sea anomaly. I asked him if he thinks the anomaly is something that can be naturally occurring, or if he believes the object's an interstellar mystery.
Lots of people have sent messages to me that this is Millennium Falcon you have found, and yeah, it's not, but it is something for sure.
It's not the Falcon.
That's why I'm struggling with it.
Tell me the story of how you discovered this object.
Yeah, we are an explorer company, treasure hunters, you can say also. Diving with salvage.
I gotta say, how fun would it be to be a treasure hunter, like as a profession? if you could, I mean, if you could maintain, you know, if you could live off of that, and obviously a lot of these guys do, but you need to know what you're doing. But imagine being a treasure hunter for a living. That sounds like fun.
Around the world and cargo from shipwrecks. We have scanned for like 2.5 hours, and then this thing popping up on the monitor. And I remember we were quite surprised. And Peter, my colleague, is looking at me and say, "Dennis, you know, here it's a UFO." And I just, what?
Why couldn't it be just a big lump of rock?
That's a very interesting rock then.
Now, let's say it's not just a big clump of rock. Even if it's not just a big clump of rock, right, guys? Even if it's not just a big clump of rock, it doesn't necessarily need to be associated with you know, a spacecraft, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be, or even a craft of any sort, because it's not even been seen or suggested to have moved, right?
I have seen before, not my colleagues around the world, that they are explorers as me. You know, I put lots of time to see if I can get any answer from people that work with the same thing as I do. And nobody have really come up with a good answer.
You noticed other anomalies when you were on site. You had all sorts of weird things happening over the object. Can you talk me through what happened?
Yeah, lots of things have happened out there. The first time we were out there, we noticed that we have problems with our equipment. The ROV did not work properly. Even his camera stopped working, the light stopped working. And I, when we talked about that, I said, okay, we have the same problem with the ROV, with the robot. The compass not working properly, and it feels like this thing or whatever it is don't want us to come near it.
It's not just happening in the depths of the ocean. Hundreds of miles from land, people all over the world are seeing mysterious orbs hovering around large bodies of water, from large coastal cities to small town beaches.
There's no strobe lights on it, which is weird.
That video came from Enigma Labs, which bills itself as the first real-time UAP sightings alert network, allowing users to upload their sightings to the video sharing platform. They recently released a report detailing thousands of strange sightings in waters around the world. They say their goal is to collect evidence in hopes of one day explaining the inexplicable. Congressman Tim Burchett is a vocal skeptic of the official US government position on UFOs, that all of these sightings are some kind of gigantic hoax perpetrated by the Pentagon. This is the lawmaker who wants to expose the truth. The congressman from Tennessee believes in USO.
Now, I think we've mentioned it on this channel about, he's talked about this before. And we're going to put up another little clip. He's talked about it mentioned it to reporters. And you got to take your hats off to this guy, because Tim Burchett has been number one on disclosure in Congress.
He's the co-chair of the bipartisan UAP caucus, which he launched to look into allegations UFO whistleblower David Grush made in his interview with me about a legacy crash retrieval program being hidden by the US government. Burchett has helped lead multiple congressional hearings looking into an alleged cover-up, working to strengthen whistleblower protections. He's very keen on the idea that some or many of these UFOs are coming from underwater. You've been quite outspoken on the subject of USOs. Why is that? What prompted your interest?
Well, my conversations with pilots, and they seem to always be over water. And then a chance conversation I had with a former admiral, or I guess you're always an admiral if you're one, about these 5 or 6 deep water areas And it just seemed to make sense. That's where you're seeing a lot of the observations of the UFOs. And then when I'm told something big as a football field is moving at 200 miles an hour underwater, when I know the best we have is around 30, it lends itself to a lot more questions than answers.
I understand you've spoken to people who are direct witnesses to
Whoa.
claims that there are objects that have been detected underwater moving at hundreds of miles an hour. What more detail can you give me on these particular incidents?
Well, of course, it's done by sonar.
Sorry, folks. I don't know why the image keeps dropping every once in a while. I apologize for that.
And the fact that we have nothing in those capabilities. And if you shoot a bullet literally into a swimming pool, it's going to go just a few feet before it just stops. But you can shoot it through the air and it can go over a mile. And it just shows you the amount of friction and the amount of power that would have to have. But also it lends itself to why we keep seeing these things over water and then things that dive into the water.
One of the things you've spoken about is...
Let me stop this 1 second. And hey, Thomas, good to see you. And Curtis and everybody who's in here. Welcome, guys. And there was suggestions when there were all those drone sightings on the East Coast. There were suggestions. Some people had suggested that these had come from the water, from the ocean. The drones that were flying around on the East Coast. So that has been mentioned before.
The speculation of underwater bases, not human bases, but bases by non-human entities. What can you tell me about what you've been told?
Well, that the concentration would be such that that's where they would be. And that we have not been able to explore any of these areas. If you just look at the numbers of sightings out over the ocean, it just seems to lend itself to that. And if you wanted to be undisturbed, where you wouldn't go in the middle of New York City or Knoxville, Tennessee, you'd go, although there's some strange things I've seen here, you would go where you would be least disturbed. And so the most unexplored area and the vastness of our great oceans is kind of hard to comprehend at some point.
Now, I'm going to take let me just do a pause here because I want to show something that we have shown in the past. And I want to show Tim Burchett. I want to show Tim Burchett. Please share page. There you go. I want to show Tim Burchett recently, just a month and a half, 2 months ago, talking about the two reporters.
These are entities that are here on this earth, that have been on this earth, who knows how long.
And this is I thought I was getting this directly from the news, but this is from Hannibal TV. So make sure you subscribe to Hannibal TV. He put this on his channel, I guess.
But we think they're coming in from way out. Maybe they did millennia ago, but they're here and they're in these deep water areas. And that's why, like we say, we know more about the face of the moon than we do what's going on there. Now, we have a higher propensity of sightings around these 5 or 6, I believe, deep water areas. And so to me, it just it creates a question there. And then when we have naval personnel telling me that we have these sightings and that there's these underwater craft they're chasing that are doing hundreds of miles an hour, and the best we've got is something that's maybe just a little under 40 miles an hour. So I got a lot of questions about that stuff. What if these are entities that are here on this earth?
I'm going to let this run again one more time. I just realized that the Hannibal TV might be the person filming this. So make sure you guys are sub to the Hannibal TV on YouTube, and I will put it in the chat.
That have been on this earth, that who knows how long, and that we, you know, we think they're coming in from way out. Maybe they did millennia ago, but they're here and they're in these deep water areas, and that's why. I mean, like we say, we know more about the face of the moon than we do what's going on there. Now, you know, we have a higher propensity of sightings around these 5 or 6, I believe, deep water areas. And so to me, it just it creates a question there. And then when we have naval personnel telling me that we have these sightings and that there's these underwater craft they're chasing that are doing hundreds of miles an hour, and the best we got is something that does maybe just a little under 40 miles an hour. So I got a lot of questions about that stuff.
So I apologize for this dropping again and again. I didn't realize that it's dropping again and again. So he has talked about this before, and it feels like people are talking about it more and more. They're talking about more and more and more. So here, let's go back to the Ross Coulthart. Excuse me for that. I got to turn off my... let's continue listening to Ross.
You've speculated about 5 or 6 bases of non-human entities. Where did you get that number from?
From some Navy officials that had, in fact,
That's a very specific speculation. It's a very specific speculation. 5 or 6 bases.
broached that subject to me. I always remember the last thing this one fellow said, because you've been in my office, but you come in one door and you can go out the other if you choose. And nobody ever does. They just go out the entrance they came up. He chose to go out the other door so he could kind of get away from all the other. And the last thing he said was, he looked at me and said, "Tim, they're real." And I'll never forget that. And it led me to believe that he had more information.
And to be very clear about this, Tim, what you're saying is that these objects underwater, these bases underwater, they are non-human. You're clear about that?
That would be my belief, yes, sir. We don't have the capabilities of traveling there or doing anything else.
Clearly, something is operating in our oceans very close to the continental United States. And as you've speculated, it's perhaps using it for some kind of surveillance.
100%. That's the only reason that would be doing it. When the numbers go up and then they drop off to almost nothing, and then you have these clusters that occur, and that would lead you obviously to believe that something is observing us, or we're observing something and we're observing them. But I guess it still just bothers me that our government won't come forward with it, because
now. I think what's happening, by the way, is that we're seeing a grassroots, kind of a grassroots type of, or they're favoring a grassroots type of disclosure, because if it's a grassroots type of disclosure, then a good portion of the population, little by little, becomes aware of stuff because they're intrigued by stuff. And it feels like the grassroots disclosure is probably the most logical and least shocking way to disclose a lot of this. What do you guys think? What do you guys in the chat think?
And the guys on the intelligence committee, I think, and gals, I think you have a few in there that just want to dissuade us from finding out what the real truth is.
Well, let's go to basics, Tim. Do you think we are being lied to by the government of the United States about the nature of these threats from the ocean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I do. I think we're being lied to about a lot of things. I am the part of the government, and I don't trust it. I don't trust what's going on. You have to ask yourself, why are we being told to keep quiet? Why the secrecy?
So the government, part of the government is telling us do not trust the government. The rest, the other side. So it's interesting. And, but it is important. It is important that part of the government is saying, we can't believe everything that we're told, right? Or we can't assume that everything that we're not told, like the omission of stuff. There's a lot of omission. There's so much omission of information over the last decades that it is a huge, huge lie, right? So, but there may be good reasons for that too. There may be good reasons, and we have to remember there may be good reasons. But at some point, this stuff has to come out, and the grassroots disclosure feels like the most organic way, right?
And it lends itself to Washington in itself. It's about power. It's about control. It's about secrecy. And therein lies some of the power and control over all of us. And I suspect all governments across the globe are the same way.
What do you think is President Trump's position on this? Do you think he's still amenable or open or receptive to the idea of being more open about UAPs as he promised during his campaign for the second administration?
I think he is. I still think he is. I've put a lot of faith and trust in mine and his relationship. I don't bother him about stuff all the time. I've asked for a 15-minute meeting with him, and I would like to discuss. There's 2 or 3 things I want to bring up to him that I think would go a long way, and one of those is this issue.
Still to come on this special edition of Reality Check, we head to Southern California with special instructions to map deep caverns off the coast of Los Angeles. And why this former Trump administration official says California could be home to a secret underwater UFO highway.
And before we head on with Ross here, we're going to take a look at the Rear Admiral that he's talking about, and we're going to go to a clip from the Sean Ryan show. And where are you? Where's the clip? And we're going to be talking about Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet. And it's a short clip from the Sean Ryan show. And let's check this out. Hold on. Share page, share. All right. So this is the Rear Admiral who Ross is going to be talking about. He's been on the record, yes, for a while talking about this stuff.
The body of the email said, "If any of you know what these are, tell me ASAP. We are having numerous near midair collisions, and if we don't stop it, we're going to have to cancel the exercise." And attached to the video was the now famous leaked Go Fast video. F-18 pilots captured video of this UAP zorching over the water. There's no flight control surfaces or propulsion means that are visible. It's just a little round sphere.
What are some of the things you've encountered as an oceanographer that
So here you go. When I was
you up at night? Let's talk about the Submariner.
I am what I am. I have the scientific background as an authority on these topics of ocean science and exploration. A submariner came to me, and virtually and he just said, "Hey, I was on a sub in the 80s. I could talk to you about what I saw." And this guy is like most nuclear submariners I know. He is just the facts. They get a passive hit, a contact, then it paused and then started closing on them rapidly. That was every feature that a Russian torpedo would have in terms of the constant bearing, decreasing range at a very rapid rate.
Again, the reason we're watching this is because this is the Rear Admiral that Ross is going to be talking about. This is a clip from the Sean Ryan show.
And they were so convinced, he called the captain of the bridge, they set general quarters and they dived.
Project Beta.
Project Beta, the story of Paul Benowitz and the evolution of the modern UFO myth. And what it's about is a civilian physicist who was on contract to work for the Air Force, I believe. He was one of these people who was a civilian researcher in the UAP in the New Mexico area where that's a hot spot. And the Air Force deliberately deceived him and exploited him and even broke into his house to make him believe that there was going to be an imminent alien invasion. He basically nearly went crazy, and the Air Force did that deliberately. And
What?
the main perpetrator in the Air Force is a guy.
Excuse me. Again, I don't know what's going on with StreamYard. We keep losing. Yeah, this is a crazy story he's talking about. It's not exactly related to what we're talking about, but here.
Named Richard Doty. He's quite well known in the UAP circles, and that's what he did. And I can see that happening right now. And you can tell they're obviously obfuscating. They are deliberately not saying what they know and saying things that are patently untrue.
Why are they?
So let's just take a look at Larlam's comment from before. What was his comment again? I think I can smell bullshit even if it's underwater. And the Admiral here is talking about the fact that people are trained. There are people who are out there who are trained to disinform, and they can be disinforming one person or they can be disinforming millions. So we always have to keep that in mind when we're listening to all this stuff, and we're all intrigued by this stuff. And but we have to keep that in mind.
Out false information.
It's the policy at the top level of the executive branch that directs whether they want to disclose or not. It makes a lot of sense because, UFO people want to see it. But if you were Biden, would you want to tell the American public, hey, I can't keep our airspace safe. It's being visited by entities whose intent I don't understand and I can't control it. Same for our water space. Do you think you want to announce that to the American people on the verge of the election and say, I'm not doing my job, I can't keep y'all safe? I don't think so.
Why are you focusing on underwater stuff?
Yeah, well, first off, we know we see them in the water too.
Okay, first of all, he's a Navy guy. Just putting that out there. But no, it's a fair question. It's a fair question. Why are you focusing on the underwater stuff?
How many encounters have we had of UAP UFO activity in the water?
The last example that I saw was from the USS Omaha, and there's other examples too. Classified examples I can't talk about, but confirmation that we see these things underwater.
Do you think there's different kinds? Do you think that there is a possibility that some of these are kind of nuts and bolts types crafts and some are maybe something to do with consciousness, maybe something to do with some type of spirituality? What are you thinking?
I think the answer.
So yeah, there's the whole element here too of perception. You can be perceiving things in a certain way, and they might be different, right? And let's continue. Sorry.
Is yes. there was another encounter where UFOs were seen to go into the water. The ships all got vectored to go look for these things, and Canadian divers were interviewed and claimed to have seen these two underwater discs and actual occupants outside the craft trying to repair it.
Now that I think that what he said right there is from it's from a very different I think it's something from the Indian Ocean, if I'm not mistaken.
Point out to everybody that the only difference between you and him is that when you were in the Navy, none of your ships ever sank. Everyone kind of got the Titanic link, and they not only started laughing, they gave me a round of applause.
Okay, so you want to see that full chat with the Rear Admiral on the Sean Ryan show? Go take a look at that, please, and let's stop sharing that. I will put the link for the Sean Ryan show in there as well, and all right, back to Ross. Back to Ross. But let me just. That's the link to Sean Ryan. That's the link to Sean Ryan clips, and from there you can go to find the whole. You'll find the referral to the whole show. All right, back to Ross.
Welcome back to this special edition of Reality Check. I'm your host, Ross Coulthart. Our correspondent, Ben Hansen, is a UFO hunter in his own right. We sent him off the coast of Southern California with a mission to interview witnesses and use high-tech equipment to take us under ocean waters.
Now we have Rear Admiral Timothy Gallaudet. Now he's been a member of our team for quite some time because of his expertise in so many things. I mean, News Nation is not a stranger to the Rear Admiral.
So these guys are working with the Rear Admiral in their research. Interesting.
Here, he was the admin of NOAA. He's has a doctorate in oceanography, and for these reasons, we'd like him to weigh in on what we're about to do here. So
just to really quick, the administrator of NOAA is kind of a really big. That's a big deal. A lot of the Navy, a lot of the Navy and water researchers will just say, it's being like the administrator of NASA, right?
Tim, thanks so much for joining us. We're here actually a couple miles offshore of Redondo Beach, and the information that you sent me about the Redondo Canyon, I'd like to ask you a couple questions about that.
Well, so I did some research here in a fairly recent paper on the sedimentary processes in this region. Was published in about 10 years ago here in Marine Geology. And this is a really interesting paper because these authors used all the modern instruments that are at our disposal. So we're talking what they call multi-beam bathymetry or multi-beam sonar, and also autonomous underwater vehicles that have side scan sonar on them. So they have some highly resolved data sets that are worth digging into. So first off, here's the big overview of the area we're looking into. You have Santa Monica Bay, and then it's got yet one canyon, Santa Monica Canyon, and then the Redondo Canyon. And then another view straight on is here. And so, there's a,
oh, wow.
If I were a USO and I wanted to hide somewhere, this is a great place to do it. And you see the steep structures here on the canyon walls. Now, granted, there is one thing. These are very active areas, so there are often these turbidity flows or landslides underwater. So a lot of activity to conceal any movement by any craft. So this would be the place to be.
And Admiral, doesn't this connect? The end of this Redondo Canyon connects to the wider Catalina Channel. Is that correct?
That's right. Let's go back a little bit. And this is really interesting. So first off, this red circle is the region I recommended you go dive on. And you can see it. It just pretty much goes right to the offshore region, the Santa Monica Basin and Catalina Channel, where I showed you earlier. This is the area where a lot of UAPs have been seen by Navy ships and others. So yeah, it's basically it's kind of like a monorail route right into the region UAPs have been sighted. That's why I think it'd make for an ideal place of concealment, coming from offshore and going into this canyon. And so I know Navy pilots well, and their attitudes. And he joked. He said, "I don't know what it is, but I sure would like to fly it."
We have Oceanbotics with us. They've been very gracious to lend us their latest and greatest. We will let you know if we find anything. I've been told we even have sonar and a grabber arm on the bottom. Now, I don't think we're going to grab anything at the bottom, but who knows? So we're about 5 miles off.
So again, this is a special, Ross Coulthart special on News Nation. And that is kind of what we're checking out right now. And I'm going to put the link in the chat for the entire so you guys can go and watch the entire stream.
Shore of Redondo Beach, and we're following the GPS coordinates that Admiral Gallaudet gave us. We're hoping to put in here at about maybe 900 feet and start drifting so we can get somewhere. Your tether goes to about 1,000. We need a couple hundred feet though to maneuver in. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it looks like it has some pinchers on there.
It does. We have a mechanical grabber. So if we see something of interest and we want to bring it up to the surface, we can inspect it.
Can it grab a 20 or 30 foot saucer disc and bring it up?
Depending on the weight and water, yes, it can.
I think the main goal here is to see from our perspective how far and fast this canyon drops off and what it looks like. All we have are maps from the top side.
All right, on three. 1, 2, 3.
You are free, little ROV. Go forth and find us UFOs.
Our field of view right now, I'd say, is probably 20 feet there. And then on the sonar, we have it set to 100 feet in front of us.
100 feet, but can the lights let us see about what, 20 feet?
About 20 feet of visibility right now. Right now, we are 8 feet from the surface. We're all the way down now. Look at all this fish.
Whoa! That is awesome.
It's a whole school right there, 5 feet from the bottom.
Whoa!
All right, guys. Well, we're going to leave it
Everywhere.
here. And I put the link in there to the entire, you can go ahead and watch the entire underwater UFO special on News Nation. And by the way, Ross has also started his own channel, and I want to put Ross's channel in here too. We love Ross. We do love Ross, and like I said, we have a couple of friends who are friends with Ross, and he is much appreciated. Much appreciated. He's trying to do something good. He's having a lot of fun doing it, I think. And he's trying to do something good, and it's not easy. So this is Ross's channel. So there you go, guys. You guys have the News Nation special and Ross's channel right there. So all right, guys, we'll be back soon to talk more. And it's awesome to have all of you here. Thank you guys for dropping in. Thank you. Hello to all the lurkers, and hello to everybody watching on the replay. Many, many blessings to you guys. We will be back soon. We'll be back soon to talk some more post-disclosure. And you have a wonderful, wonderful, blessed day, my friends.